The tall, gangly thing?
Well, it is time to get into game number 1 of day 2 of the NA Regional Finals. Doa and Admirable, take it away.
Or I'm in a position where I just need to focus on, you know, top fours. If I've gotten a couple first seconds early on, gotten that lead. Ooh, the double 3-cost orb. So it's a lot of gold, if nothing else. Yeah. It does. And speaking of tough spots to be in, that was a carousel with three spatulas. So this could open things up a lot more. And the funny thing is, you see people kind of hesitating. Look at this. The last spatula goes all the way to the very last pick, and it doesn't even get chosen. Make up for the difference in losing HP. It's in Teamfight Tactics, we talk a lot of times about trading HP for gold, and this is a great example of how that can work out. As the effectiveness kind of changes set to set, right? But you can still do it if you get that early lead, and you can see Voidsonz, like you said, level 7 at 3-5. That's a common time if you're going 8 aggressively to take that level. So certainly going for that more aggro line of play. And this Varus is basically at the point where 4-1 is where you want to start to look for a replacement, right? It's strong through stage 3. Then the spike from everybody else finding those Radiant items. The Radiant Jewel Gauntlet is great for Varus. It's something that can work very well for the Vel'Koz. Also, you can see that sword can get turned into a Shojin. But yeah, it's going to be the Radiant Zephyr, it looks like, on the other side. Interesting choice for Setsuko. That's one that hasn't been picked as much lately. Yeah. I wonder what his other choices were and that he went that. I think the big part of it is that he's already got a pretty fully itemized Lucian here. So you can have the luxury of taking a utility or a defensive item, and you can see it's paid dividends here. One more cast from Varus, but it's not enough. And yeah, that's the win streak over for Voidsonz.
I guess the paraphrasing for what was actually said, but you know, all the spatulas that we saw early on, I feel like that's a heavy influence for players being able to go and Assassin's right there.
Kerm just hit a Teemo 2 at 4-3. All right, so that happened. Very curious to see what his board looks like right now. But how about Pockygom? He's got the double trap claws here. He's got the Radiant Trap Claw that gives his entire team a shield, and then he's got the regular one that gives the shields on either side of the unit that has it. And that is a lot to get through. That said, Lucian is still very strong with these items, and it's going to be another win for Setsuko.
My gosh, I mean, just look at the Lucian items are just, it's so ridiculous. Infinity Edge plus the Last Whisper plus the Bloodthirster. Like, you can't really poke this unit away. You can't really just decide, like, you know what, I'm going to stop all the damage from this. Like, you need like a Bramble or something in the way, I think, to really cut into that. But even with a Bramble in the way, you're now losing armor total because of that last Whisper that's involved in this one. Just Setsuko in a very prime spot on this one. But as you mentioned, Kerm with the 2-star Teemo, I am really curious to see how this is going to end up functioning, because right now when you look at that bottom part of the lobby, Soju at 9, Milk at 23 there, and then Kerm at 29. They have a lot of work to do to come back in this lobby.
Poor Soju at 9, like significantly below everyone else at the moment. So that is a player that's going to be in some trouble here. We're going to check out Robinsongz, though. He is at the top of the lobby right now, the exact opposite side, and he's the player that dropped that Radiant Thieves Gloves. Finds an early Volibear as well. So starting to make his way towards a very, very strong late game composition.
Viego showing up as well. I really feel like the Ivern parts, the Ivern volley part of this is probably going to end up getting ignored. Yep, there's the volley. The 2-star Jax here is a very big deal on this one, and then finding the Viego so that you can give him this Radiant Thieves Gloves, and finding the Trap Claw plus the Ionic Spark in the Radiant item. That is really tough. Voidsonz, a very stacked Vel'Koz over there, but no mana assistance in terms of items.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is looking like a really tough lobby, Doa.
It's looking like a good lobby. That's interesting items for Voidsonz, and I mean, he's just got like an insane crit build. It's going to take a long time for his Vel'Koz to cast, but when it does, it'll do good damage. Gets CC'd by the Thresh, though, and so this is going to be a big win.
On the Setsuko side, Soju's still getting some wins. Soju's been sitting at 9 health for a little bit, but here comes the Radiant Blessing.
Oh!
That's where the Nikos are coming
from.
Nico
and a belt. Wow. That's got to be useful for a lot of people, actually.
Here we go. And Pockygom's saying, you know what, I'm sticking here. We're going for the 3 stars on the 6 Legionnaire side of things.
Yeah.
But needs to get a couple hits here. Finds a 2-star Yasuo, as a 2-star Riven, as a 2-star Nidalee. Not really anything showing up to be the main feature here, and running out of gold. Pockygom needs some sort of improvement to take place here, Doa, and it's not showing up.
Look at that. He's so close to the Yasuo 3, but that's a character that he has no items on. He wants the Riven 3. That is the main goal, but it's not happening. It even gets Zephyr'd. Yeah, I think Pockygom's in big trouble. Soju holding on for the moment. Pockygom certainly playing for bottom 4, I think, here too.
Well, it was close to have something happening until the Daisy had stunned that Riven. I think it was pretty close, but could buy you a couple extra spots for Delicious Milk. This is a strong board. I think that realistically speaking, this is probably the strongest one that's in the lobby at the moment. You have a Zephyr that's active.
Yeah, I think this is honestly the strongest version of this comp as well, because it's got the best of everything. It's got the new school Fiddlesticks itemization, and it's still got the Frozen Heart on the Diana. So it really has everything that Assassins could ever want.
Diana gets a movement on this Vel'Koz. The Vel'Koz gets chewed through. I miss Voidsons, I feel like, is going out in this spot. That is way too much damage that's sitting in play.
I'm convinced at this point that, like, Assassins at their peak are the strongest comp in the game. I know that people may disagree with me, and that's fine.
Of the Mystic that's in play, that's going to help to free up that Zephyr as well. Delicious Milk, I think, is making such good use of cycling through units in order to use these utility items so much better. And frankly, that is just an ultra important aspect when you're playing at this level.
Yeah. Trying to get that positioning right is very important. Wants to jump on the Heimerdinger, maybe.
Yeah, it's trying to look at see if there's Zephyrs and stuff as well on the other side to make sure that you're not getting pinned down to have this Nocturne get trapped.
Nice.
So there's the swap. Oh, was it a swap back? I think he noticed it at the very end.
Oh, he didn't play him anyway. It's okay. He's going up against the ghost of, I believe it's Robinsongz here. Yeah, it's the ghost of Robinsongz. So see if he can get the win here. I feel like this is a easier matchup for him, but that Lucian is getting a lot of room here.
Yeah,
Mike comes in. There's a stun. Yep, that's going to be big. Now the Nocturne's stunned as well. That Rel actually coming up huge. And that Nocturne in a little bit of trouble. He's all the way on the other side of the map. Yeah. Is this Lucian going to do it? Oh, no.
It's going to get knocked down, but you're stuck with Galio with a Bramble at that point. So Delicious Milk kind of looking at the other sides of the board. But here we go. It's not enough. Delicious Milk falls out alongside with
double kill.
It's everybody lost. What's going on?
It's a double kill, and Robinsongz takes lobby number 1.
Cool. But we're ready to go into our second game of the day. So, Dan and Bryce, take it away.
All right, thank you very much. This is game 2 of day 2 here at the North American Regional Finals for Teamfight Tactics Reckoning Dawn of Heroes as well. So I take that all back, and that's why Setsuko's there and I'm here. Taking a look at the matchup, Setsuko did not get the head-to-head versus Soju, instead going up against Milk, who did play the Assassins last game, although it does seem to be deviating in a different generic AP tree here. We'll see. I do think that right now, the board here from Setsuko is high quality, holding some really valuable pairs that Nidalee's going uncontested, taking down the backline damage DPS. It's really just down to his Aatrox and this Riven fighting against the Nidalee, the non-stop dodges, trying to stay alive. It's pretty close to Aatrox healing one more time. And that's going to be a snap streak for Setsuko.
What I miss Voidsons wants to see that he's going to be contested on this tree more consistently today than he was yesterday.
Going up against KurumX, two players who are very clearly leading towards playing the ability power tree. We'll see who can get the edge there. It's almost a tale of two different lobbies from game 1 to game 2. Everybody who is in the top 4 is pretty much in the bottom 4 at the moment. But as you mentioned, Bryce, this is exactly what you expect from the AP tree. You play for the comeback. The Radiant Blessing plays a big factor into things, so you're not terribly upset. As long as you're not bleeding too much health, you should still be in a pretty decent spot. Look how close this fight is. And Voidsons able to narrowly defeat KurumX. Online has the Abomination in. Would he like to transition some of these units as well, so you can get the Sunfire onto the A-Bomb?
Not finding it.
Just full-on rolling and full-on missing. Random unit gets pulled in just from the Hankarim that's on the bench. Makes a ZZ Rot portal just to try and get presence onto the board. Going against Pockygom, who's playing another dual Legionnaire carry with what looked like to be Leona 3. I'm not entirely sure what I'm watching from Pockygom's point of view, but that sounds like I'm just casting Pockygom, and it's not a body impersonator.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm never quite sure what I'm casting when I'm looking at Pockygom's boards. What makes him such a fun and exciting player to watch is that he just goes in a million different directions. By the way, Milk, who had committed to this Riven reroll, you hate to see the way the lobby is playing out. We saw Pockygom playing
in the front line, hoping to sacrifice her to the monstrosity gods and buy just enough time for his backline carry, scouting to see how the other boards will do. At this point, I think Voidsons says, I hope I can secure at least the 7th place, and it does seem likely based off the way the trends are going. Taking some big damage out of Soju's board, though. That Jax 2 wailing away. Voidsons now down to just 5 HP, gonna take tabs on Kurum. Kurum does not look online either, and with that Jax closing out, Kurum is our first player to exit this lobby. With the Ironclads and the Rel, and even having things like that Diana, by all means, he's got a lot of good pieces to the puzzle. It just feels hard to tie everything in very neatly. Oh, in fact, just playing a Teemo straight up. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I like this a lot too. Teemo is the single best splash unit in the game right now. A 50% attack speed slow is bananas. That's more effective than a Frozen Heart, an item most people think very highly of in the late game because of its disruption. Teemo casting across fights, slowing attack speed, such a good unit. I'm loving Setsuko's board fluidity. He's not getting married to any particular line or any particular unit. He's just constantly moving things around to play the best unit he possibly can. Hopping on board with this fight between Spencer and Robin, we see a Teemo actually carrying on one side, and Robin has an Aphelios carry on the other end. The question is, can Jax wind up getting access to this Aphelios? No, it jumps the wrong way, Dan. Now it's walking all the way back. Robin talking up to this Jax a little bit, saying, get back there, assassinate that Aphelios for me. Thank you very much. I will take a fight win.
Wow. The death sentences from the Thresh going back to back, never allowing Spencer's Aphelios to ever get ramped at this point.
Maybe he gets a sword. Deathblade would be pretty good. GA on your Auction, not even the world.
What?
Instantly picks up the Auction too. That feels pretty good. I'm surprised to see Robin still rolling here. He just lost his first fight in 14 rounds. He knows he's playing for first place, and if you scout around, you can see the power level of the lobby is off the charts. So if I were him, I would be a little bit more conservative with my gold in this spot and say, hey, it's okay. I'm essentially guaranteed top 4 here. How about I save some gold, try to get multiple upgraded legendary units, and that's my path to victory. So we'll see if this pans out for him. Going up against Spencer's board, who has a relatively standard iteration of Aphelios.
Yep, Spencer just has what looks like to be a good top 4. And from the way that the boards are panning out, he's been contested. So even if he doesn't, do much in this fight, I think that if he's able to get to top 4, I think it's a job well done by Spencer. And it looks like to be the case as Jax is just absolutely crushing through.
Robin can somehow take advantage of that open item component in a different way. Soji, meanwhile, feels like that fight went about as well as it possibly could have for him. And so the question is, how can he possibly deal with this board?
Oh, Galio 3!
All right, well, I think the answer is that there is no way to deal with this board. Do you want to talk me out of that, Dan?
I don't know. I think that if Soju had Auction 3, maybe he had a chance, but we know that's not even possible based off this current trajectory of things. And so I think Soju just has to hope that stealing this Auction once more can swing things. But it shouldn't. His own Auction is getting stuck onto units. Galio is just killing every single unit. He's not dying. He's applying anti-heal. He's burning everything to the ground. And I think Soju just has to be due. He knows that Auction isn't the priority. It's entirely on Jax and Galio. Made the Guardian Angel a nice little victory cigar. Yeah, you can't steal my Auction with a Viego. Fruitless heroic swings and effort coming out from Soju. But we knew who was going to win this the moment that 3-star Galio has arrived. Team Liquid's Robinsongz going to go back-to-back and post first places for a clean 20 to start off day 2 here at the North American Regional Finals.
Overall scoreboards, we already know who's at the top of this one. Robinsongz with back-to-back wins, going to have 20 points. Setsuko trailing behind at 13, and it is a so why don't we just get right into it, shall we?
I mean, I'm ready. Yeah, let's do it. All right. Thank you, Necra. Here we go. Admirable, you and I are back again for game number 3 here at the final day of the Teamfight Tactics Reckoning North American Regional Final.
We'll revisit that in a moment. I think that staying open is a very important notion to have as we take a look at Setsuko's board. And this is Draconic that's in play, and a 2-star Ashe being offered, going to pick it up, and 2 Nocturnes on the bench here for Setsuko as well. And a very similar situation item-wise to what we just saw on Pockygom's side of the board.
Very curious. I'm all for it.
There's a lot of stacked stuff as we peek around that board from Delicious Milk's point of view. Yeah, this was the one that came to my mind as well, was just how stacked this Nunu was looking in a spot like this. And Aphelios shows up for Soju as well. At some point, he'd love to move those items from the Nunu over to a Galio. So just kind of waiting to roll that for a little bit, or maybe a Galio 2 even. You can see him holding the Nautilus, kind of getting set for it. Playing against Ivan's Voidsons right now, who's got this early Nidalee, and the Frozen Heart is going to be really annoying actually to deal with. I love putting Frozen Heart on Nidalee for this exact reason. You might not think about doing it very often, but when she gets into the back line, she can really slow down the attack damage carries, and I think that honestly made the difference right there. There's the Thresh 2 for Setsuko.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Robinsongz hits a Galio 2, and he still has 100 HP.
What the
at
heck?
4-2. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Robinsongz's world, and we're just living in it.
One of the big ones I'm looking at is that this tier can become any number of items that are beneficial to the caster comp. But let's say you just found like a cloak or something. it's still a chalice, so it's still like an off item here. The point is it's enhancing what your casting is going to be doing. So I think it's a really smart pickup.
Well, you can see in the roll down here, he's prioritizing finding things like the Syndra, the Ivern, and other invokers. So with that Teemo, ooh, here we go. Yeah, so he could go for Invoker right now. You don't need to go for Invoker. That probably weakens your front line too much. So I like just kind of playing a little bit slow here. That tier theoretically can turn into something like a Hand of Justice. But yeah, he's starting to finally move to the direction he wants to go, and the Teemo is going to be theoretically very helpful against some of the AD boards.
Yeah, the big one here is that the brand did not need to be in play. It's just kind of like just there hanging out at the moment. And Pocky, they might be able to pick up a win here, but this Poppy just feels invincible by comparison.
It's hilarious.
Holy smokes!
Poppy, I mean,
this could be a tie, but Pocky doesn't want a tie right now. Pocky needs a win.
It's a tie. Yeah, I don't. I think that Poppy's going to win.
Holy smokes! This Poppy's invincible!
I know. We've returned. We're back in Candyland again, Admirable.
Let's Poppy it off!
That if he finds something like an Akshan or something, he doesn't stick with his Jax.
Yeah, I mean, he sold an Akshan during this roll. I mean, he was very confident.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Never mind.
Lucian and an Akshan hit the bin. I think that the Jax probably is the right call because, you know, it's an Eternal Whisper that you have for the Radiant item. It's not exactly good for Akshan.
Yeah,
it's pretty good for Lucian, I'd say, but, you know, the Bloodthirster's not super good on the Lucian side. It's not bad. But I feel like the Jax is the direction to go because there's so much AD happening that the Ironclad is just, that's the utility you want on your carry, I think.
I always forget that Akshan.
Oh my gosh, is this going to win? What?
Will, yes. Wow. All right. I mean, Galio's pretty hard to kill. You know, Jax 1 got a lot of time.
Happening in very limited time on how to move things around.
Yeah, it doesn't really move much. And he's going to have the Diana jump right into the back line here. So here's Setsuko. Now, remember, he only has that Nocturne too, but he does have the Radiant Giant Slayer. So you're just going to be doing a lot more damage anyway, even as a 2-star. You can see it. That said, the Lucian untouched. And can he burn through all of this? It's not. Nocturne comes back up. Oh,
wait a second.
It's possible.
Holy smokes, this Lucian is cranking.
Wow. I mean, that's Radiant Bloodthirster for you right there. Just so much. Even Teemo doesn't really help you. He's kind of capped out as far as like what he's going to be able to make out of this board, I think, for this game. So I think he's kind of just hoping that he's able to sneak in a 4th place.
Milk, big repositioning is happening here. Some items, components that are taking place here. What do you want? Dragon Claw it is. Hopefully maybe deal some extra damage. Teemo gets a big shot in the middle, but that middle of this board might get wiped out. I will say that the Karma walked into a really nice spot on this one. And so really what it boils down to is how that Lucian shoots, and it goes right down to the Karma. And I feel like this Lucian is going to be able to pull through on this one.
It's looking pretty good. I think it shows, too, how flexible of an item holder Lucian can be. You can see the Jeweled Gauntlet on there, which is not something you see all the time. But that does make his ultimate hit very hard, or at least half the shots anyway.
Setsuko going to go down here. Yep. Pocky holds on as well.
The Viego might just be that. It is another skirmisher, but it's not Ironclad. Finds another Jax too. Okay, we're going to swap some items around.
Deathblade.
Yeah, so this is going to be just straight up a better Jax. Now he can put somebody in the middle. Okay, where's that Trap Claw going to go? Yeah, all right, that's okay. He's going to center the Lucian, it looks like. And now the placement of the Mystic Spat doesn't really matter.
Who needs more health?
Throw it on somebody. There we go. Okay, so gets the Mystic Spat, and it doesn't even have 2 Mystics, so it doesn't really matter that much. But this fight is
huge. The Jax got picked up by the Viego over there. This Lucian really needs to shoot down this board. The Galio looking like it might fall, but this board got crippled on.
I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Robinsongz has done it. 3 first place in a row.
Well, I don't think it's any surprise taking a look at the standings. We've only had 1 player take firsts in any of our 3 games. So that is a dominant lead that Robinsongz has been able to create for themselves over Delicious Milk sitting in 2nd with 18 points. And let's get right into it, shall we? Game number 4 on your screens.
Game number 4, a sight all too familiar for those who've been tuning in since the beginning of today's broadcast. We're hopping on board once more with Team Liquid's Robinsongz, and that score line at the top left is all you need to know. And across his results so far, a second, a 7th, a 4th, and a 6th. So just kind of like all over the place in terms of his placements. And I think that Spencer's on the verge of being able to turn that corner. Look at his board right now with that Ziggs 2 and the Death Cap. He's actually in a very good sports state at the moment.
Yeah, he's in a very good board state in the moment, so much so that immediate reaction to this was, man, if I'm Kerm, I really don't want to play Spencer's board because I'm pretty sure he loses that fight, that Sunfire, the really tanky frontliner in the Gragas 2, plus the Dawnbringer buff to make sure it's going to regenerate a bunch of its HP, and you have that really, really early Ziggs with a death cap and a tier. This unit does an insane amount of damage for a 1 cost, so he loses there if he loses this fight. He wins that fight, maybe he rolls down on 3-2 as well. I'm not sure. We're hopping on board with Imus Voidsens, who is definitely rolling on 3-2.
He's pretty deep already, only 11 gold remaining in his reserves, but he does have some more that he can sell off his bench, as he looks like he's trying to piece together just a generic Sentinel Skirmisher board, rolls and finds Lucian, and a moment of revelation here for Voidsens, who needs this with a 5th and 2 back-to-back 7th places. Voidsens is hurting for the points to try to get to the top 3, and may have found a ticket with that Lucian on 3-2.
And this is exactly what he was looking for. His items are insane for this. He has a Last Whisper and a Hodge. Lucian is the best AD carry to hold this because it double taps on the ability power and AD you get out of the item. You also have a Gargoyle Stoneplate, which is the single best item aside from maybe Warmogs onto a Galio in the late game. He has the Lucian 1, which is enough to do damage, and he's got an upgraded Aurelia, which is enough frontline in a lot of different fights. This fight actually winds up being very close. He winds up eking out against Setsuko. So
Robinsongz, by the way, hasn't really finished his losing ways, so we do have some polarization the opposite direction. We're hopping aboard with Setsuko
5 Draconic
with a very unusual board state that we don't see often, largely due to the high risk, high reward nature of it. A lot of health rearranging how things will look going into the carousel. What is happening? A Garen appears in the shop, and Soju has the ability to go into 4 Knights very easily with one of the most powerful units to link it all together. Garen by himself, not that impressive. A far cry from set 5 Reckoning Garen. But still, when you're talking about 4 Knights and synergies, and when you can start to flex in and out of it in the mid stage of the game, Garen is often that missing link piece, and Soju already found it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love Soju's board fluidity here, right? He has the upgraded Jax, so he's clearly high rolling 50 gold, level 7. Clearly didn't have to spend a bunch of gold to find this Jax. And so he did not overly tunnel on what people perceive to be the best version of this composition, which is the 4 Knights, right? He gets 2 Knights in with this Garen. He just tries to play good units around. He's got a Lucian in as a secondary damage source. He's got a Riven 2 in, and he knows this is good enough. And sure enough, he is right. He's on a 7 win streak, about to go to 8 as he takes out Spencer. Any damage to me. Milk takes a win. Setsuko takes a loss.
That's a Lucian too.
It is. Do you pivot all the way back and play these items? Do you dual carry? There are so many options from this position.
I'm not sure. He just keeps finding more Lucians. The game says, are you sure you don't want to play Lucian? And remember, at one point, we thought Setsuko was going to pivot into Lucian based off that Titan's Vow pick from the Radiant Armory. And I'm looking at how the composition feels right now, and Lucian is certainly a good unit, but I haven't seen this ambitious of a pivot back into the AD tree after starting AP, pivoting AD, pivoting back to AP, pivoting back to AD.
Yeah, I haven't seen this much in the way of pivoting in a long time, but man, is it fun to watch. I feel like we're watching TFT at its finest. The last game we were casting Setsuko was a really similar spot where he was constantly flexing in the units on his board and finding best possible board in that moment in time.
This made a transition that way. Many people say that the 4 Invoker board is really powerful.
There we go.
The Bola Bear can start to peel back on that end. 4 Invoker, and the Redmonds are in.
There we go. This is Pocky's vision for the board, and you could see it. He was getting attached to a couple of different lines and trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm holding on to this Viego and this Diana pair because maybe I can wind up teching those in. He's not hitting early enough. He needs to sell those to keep rolling, and he finds what he's looking for. He finds a Volibear. All of a sudden, this Revenant front line can get online, and it becomes worth it for him to then tech in the 4 Invokers. But going up against Delicious Milk, who has an Auction 2 fully itemized, this is a very scary board. He also has, by the way, a Last Whisper BT on Olaf 1. So, and Robin just took a loss, but Robin took a loss to the only board in the lobby that I looked at and said, okay, this probably wins because it's Delicious Milk's Giant Slayer Auction 2, which can absolutely kill the Hecarim before the fight is over. Meanwhile, we're going up against Soju, who is level 9, has dual threat carries in a Lucian and a Jax. There is so much power on Soju's board, it's hard for me to envision that Kerm's going to be able to deal with it. But for now, his carries are staying much safer. Okay, the Jax has access. I spoke too soon. Jax has taken out Kerm's damage sources and taken out Kerm's life along with it.
The raw board strength from Setsuko, able to beat him. That said, there's a little bit of rock, paper, scissors going on, Bryce. Milk beats Setsuko, the ghost of Setsuko beats Soju, and Soju beat Milk last time. Who's going to come out on top? We might be in for a double kill.
Ooh, he's thinking about reforging these two items, and he gets a pretty good roll of the dice there, Dan. He gets a jeweled gauntlet, which is a great third damage item for that Lucian. He gets a redemption, which is certainly a better item than the Sunfire at this point in the game, because Sunfire has been thoroughly outscaled, right? You're going to burn 1 or 2 units and then die. He's going to quickly reposition. He's, once again, it seems like he is positioning for Setsuko's board. Does not seem worried about Milk's board, and he gets Setsuko once again. He is positioned very well for it. Will things go differently? This time the Jax is straight onto the Galio.
Yeah, and Setsuko does have the Lucian tucked safe in the back. Doesn't seem like it's any danger. Jax does fall to the culling. Big damage, and now Titan's Vow is at full stacks, takes out the Lucian in the back. Soju's out of damage. He's got all support units, and the Viego trying to see if he can turn Daisy. That's not the right target. And at this point, Soju's only hope is that some of these players eliminate each other, and he can use his HP lead for a top 2.
But likely he will wind up playing Milk in this spot. He did beat Milk the last time, but we did not get to see the fight, so now let's see how it plays out.
Milk trying to figure out where he wants to place his Deathblade. Just going to place it on the center 2 for now. Viego from Soju is targeting the Oxon with the Sovereign Domination. The damage wasn't enough, but the stall could have been very valuable to at least delay the Oxon. Oxon is now targeting Jax, who's almost at full attack speed. Titan's Resolve has been at full stacks, and now it's just a battle between all of the remaining carries. It comes down to Jax and Akshan on both sides. Soju not able to get it done, and it looks like Milk's able to get this final shot.
And it could be a double kill.
It's a double kill. Delicious Milk takes game number 4 with a huge victory and puts himself in contention for top 3 from second place. Grabbing a first place, that was a monumental victory.
Yeah. Show everybody after 4 games where all of these players sit, Delicious Milk taking that first place, and Soju with that second, still right outside of that top 3. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Dan and Admirable, take it away.
All right, well, thank you very much, Necker. This is Game 5 of the North American Regional Finals. Because even if you do lose, you're not losing by much. And keeping up your tempo is so important.
Whoa.
That is an early Jax. Never mind the fact that he has 2 more Varuses in the shop. Whoa.
Yeah, see you later, Varus. 2-6 Jax shows up. By the way, with a Knight Ironclad that's taking place, plus a Skirmisher that's in play. It's turning into a 3 Skirmisher, 3 Sentinel, 2 Ironclad position here.
Even finds an Aphelios in the box. Might be able to hold on to
Just
it.
sells it.
He needs to sell it for gold. It's not that important. But, you know, this is a comp, again, that struggles to land top 4 consistently. It totally still can, but doesn't get there as often, which is why people don't play it on ladder. An opportunity instead to play it for a top 5.
Look at this job. What is it? Just like 4s are just like destroying our players right now. They just keep showing they're getting bombarded by 4-cost units.
By all means, play the Draven. But I think in his position, he really wants to stay consistent to his line and not get too fancy. One way that you can easily turn what should be like, you know, 4th or 5th place into a bottom 2 potentially is getting too fancy with weak power level compositions. And if you need a reference, just watch me or Nathan play TFT.
I was thinking it. I wasn't going to say it. Honestly, the call that I want to make here from Robinsong's position is that this is just a very unusual tournament spot to be in.
What is happening over here? We turn to K3 Soju's POV. He has rolled all the way down. It's stage 3-5. He's at level 6, and he has 11 gold on his bench. This man is broke.
Yeah, this is very unusual. I actually don't think I've ever seen this in a tournament spot before. But Soju, is clearly making some sort of decision about something. That's 40 armor across the board. Not bad. Not a bad use of 20 gold.
That's fair. Oh my goodness! Delicious Milk on his forward roll down finds not 1 but 2 legendaries. Chooses to pass it because he doesn't need the Gwen.
Second Galio, third Jax shows up. Holy smokes, Dan! This is very powerful.
Yeah, I'd say get the Sentinel buff in. Does not get the Skirmishers in. Just a slight uncharacteristic micro error there from Delicious Milk. But that's okay. He has Jax too. He's going against Soju. A battle between the top and the bottom health players in this lobby. And you get to see just how competitive this Riven 2 can be, even into a Jax 2 board. But without that scaling, without any meaningful frontline synergies. And with the fact that Riven actually has got her damage cranking, this is a very close fight.
Delicious Milk as well. You know, the skirmishers, they're basically just squires at this point, and you pretty much hit the nail on the head. The Galio 2, that's the big upgrade. The next one is the Rel coming in at level 8. And so for now, I think that Delicious Milk has a pretty clear image they're looking at, and it's make sure you're positioned right.
Yeah.
And I think if that's happening right now, that this is a pretty solid top 4 looking spot on Delicious Milk's side.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the loss at 4-1 was a little spooky.
Oh my gosh!
Whoa, Setsuko's dead at 4-3. That is the earliest death I have seen this entire set.
And that is not good for Setsuko. 4th, 3rd, 5th, 3rd. Wait a second here. There's another Spellweaver spat on the bench here. I've never actually seen 6 Spellweaver or anyone even attempt it, I don't think.
That's a lie. I posted a screenshot in our Discord.
But that doesn't mean I saw it.
Okay.
It just means I haven't seen that sort of happen thing yet. If you think I'm reading what you posted Discord, Dan, you got another thing coming.
That's the truth, and my feelings are hurt.
So I'm kind of curious to hear if Pockygom's even considering that at all. It doesn't look like he is, because you still need a front line for your for your Spellweavers at that point.
It's true, and you do have to play some very weak units, right? The 6 Spellweaver indicates that you want to play like Ziggs as well at the moment.
Golly, the Lucian just chews through that corner. Akshan finding its way to the back of the board, but I'll tell you what, the Vel'Koz chewed through the center here. And so now the Lucian's shooting at that Lux, which I think is pretty well positioned given the circumstance. And even if you're not going to win the fight, again, just don't take a ton of damage. And it feels like Pocky's, at least making that happen. Don't take too much when you're in spots like this.
Yeah, the power is there. The positioning was not. Had Pocky swapped to the other side with the Vel'Koz, completely different story. The triple Spellweaver emblem number 3 comes into the mix.
What is going on right now? I feel like this is so many. How are there this many Spellweaver spats?
I'm so glad that we get to see this, because this is one of my favorite stretch chases right now in set 5.5 Dawn of Heroes.
I'll tell you what, he's lined up well for this, and I'm curious to see how it reacts. I have not seen 6 Spellweaver cast in this patch so far. There's the hit from Volleybear, and oh my gosh, that Vel'Koz just melted the center of the board. What the heck?
This is a 2-item Vel'Koz. He doesn't need Jewel Cause. He doesn't need any amplification.
He's got a blue buff and a Radiant Hand of Justice. How is it that much damage?
Now, mathematically, he is extremely unfavored to get through. He's going to give it his best shot. And he repositions, trying to see if he can jump onto the right champion. He is angled at a very awkward spot for Pockygom's Ghost board. This could be goodbye to Kuramex in North American Regionals. The 6 Spellweaver online, Scion coming to stall. The Viego did steal one of the units, but it's just not going to be enough, and Kuram exits. But you know what? He has won our hearts, and even though he doesn't repeat as champion, making it this far into another set in the North American Regional is still a feat to be applauded.
Frontline, I do feel like the items panned out pretty well here, but this is not like an easy composition to play in position. I forced this composition for a long time. It's really tough. And so kind of watching this from Robinsong's side, the fact that he's uncontested, I think, is A, the big benefit of it, but B, just the fact that he's got this positioning kind of nailed down and that everything's going right in terms of these items, it's a very big deal. So now going up against Spencer, Spencer's Jax gets wiped away real quick, and now it's up to this Gwen to really pull the rest of this effort for this, but it's having trouble handling this Rel at the moment. This Gwen is now by itself, and that's not going to work. This Yasuo is ramped up. Possible. Soju, I think, took the proper line here. Look for the Draven 3 and hope that it shows up. Downgraded some units, is replacing some stuff as we go along. I think you tried your hardest to find this this Draven 3 right here. I do think that was the out in this spot. You needed to find one Draven and you had a Nikos on your bench. That is a really tough call to make when you downgrade your board in a spot like that. But now the position is everything. Can you get it done right?
Uncharacteristic micro mistake coming out from Soju as well, trying to put it on the far left side. Incidentally, that's what Robin read, so the Diana's no longer on the KO. Perhaps some 5-head positioning coming out from Seiju. No! Yasuo 3 is on the KO. She needs a little bit more time. It's too early.
Lee Sin got stolen, though. But is that enough to slow this down? The Draven just can't chew through the bramble at this point. Soju gets knocked out in 3rd place. Robinsongz wins the round. Pockygom too. I do feel like it's going to require something like this in order to, catch Robin off guard in a spot like this. Is he actually shifting to this side of the board? Did Robin read this right? We're going to find out.
It's tricky. He left a little spot open for Diana to jump with the Moonfall right next to the Syndra. It comes down to who's able to cast first. And with the Syndra being right there to be able to throw the Diana away, the Moonfall does go off and right into the Yasuo's clutches. I think he's done it. 3 firsts in a row. And another one in game number 5. Team Liquid Robinsongz is decimating the North American competition.
Well, hang on. The Rel, is the Rel dying? Does that save Pocky at that point? Didn't die, so who knows? My gosh, this is insane. I cannot believe this is happening, Dan. Because it's just going to be so close in this middle section.
Ooh, it doesn't get any closer than Frodan and Bryce. Take it away.
Here we go, the grand finale of the North American Regional Finals for Teamfight Tactics, Reckoning Dawn of Heroes, where maybe Pocky, Setsuko, Soju, Spencer all are in the bottom 4, but based on those finishes, some players are going to Worlds and some aren't.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. By the way, Robin opening up with Aatrox pair and a Leona pair, so he's got an absurd opening already.
One cost that you can build your entire comp around, and because it's so cheap, allows you to ramp up your gold economy very fast and have a ton of options going to the mid-game.
Yeah, such a good board, and this is such a big fight for Pocky. We talked about the loss streakers. That means on the other end, you have 3 win streakers in Robinsongz, Kuramax, and Pockygom. Pockygom's board is quite strong. So is Kuramax. He's got this Ziggs wailing away, trying to deal the damage and keep his win streak alive. He looks like he's going to be able to do it. He's thinking about cheesing the belt if he needs to. He misses the cheese on the belt, and that is such a big mistake. This Olaf has low HP and is ramping all the way up. He is not able to get that belt on this edge one at a time, and it costs him the fight, most likely. We've seen that before.
And Pocky's the exact kind of player that would go for that. As we take inventory and see who is going to continue to streak.
Kurum is level 6.
Kurum's level 6.
And he's losing. He's level 6 on 2-6, and he lost the fight. That brought a smile back to Pocky's face. Wow. It is anybody's game, and he could absolutely fall out of qualification.
Hopping on board with Setsuko, who ready as a Radiant Blessing, hoping for a spatula.
Whoa.
Does not find it. And here we go, the 3-5 roll down. We've seen this many times in the Giant Slayer series, and it did not go very well for Setsuko and his team. So is this a premonition of what's to come for Setsuko? I just do not see the high impact, not even finding Revenants to combine with this Nocturne.
Yeah.
As he does end up picking up this Aphelios as well. Let's take a look at the Radiant Armory.
The Zeeks. It has to be the Zeeks.
Oh, Jax 2! That's so big! All of a sudden, this game for Setsuko may have turned completely around.
I love to see it after watching his frustrating roll down last game. He has played so well throughout the day. I just want him to have a puncher's chance in this lobby.
And he's itemization in general is just not right what he's thinking about at the moment.
He
realizes it now.
Overall, the itemization is really good because he's going to be able to make this Trap Claw, which is really valuable in Jax, as it is in Nocturne. He's going to have a Cloak left over, and given that he's so low in HP, there's a decent chance that he's either going to, he might get a sword drop from the Wolves, or a decent chance he'll be able to get it from the next Carousel. So among the very best items you can put on this unit, he does lack carry items, though. He just has the Last Whisper on the Draven. He was lucky to find a Draven, too, so he at least does some damage. Can this Galio stall long enough? I think the answer is against most boards. Absolutely.
I would like to see Milk consider putting more power into the traits then. He does pick up this Hecarim, for example, which would be able to go for the Forgotten and even have the Cavalier buff. And then Night Emblem gives him the ability to mix and match these synergies accordingly. That is something that we've seen a lot of players do. In particular, it seems like Europe really likes to use Draven in spots like this. And they do tend to go deeper into the Forgotten synergy in particular, which is something that I don't feel like NA does very often.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of the time, NA just views Draven as a pivot in the late game when you're rolling down if you haven't found the carry you're actually looking for. But if you lean into it as a carry, it can be quite powerful.
Oh my God!
Oh, holy high roll, Batman. We're talking about leaning into the Forgotten Tree, and up pops a Viego. I guess the cheat codes are still on. They just moved over to Milk's board.
Yeah, I guess.
Rage Blade. Again, we're just playing for top 4 here, so it's good enough.
And this board from Spencer, trying to piece together what is a good enough board. What was that package? 2 Nikos and a bunch of components.
What did we just witness? Please find a legendary carry.
He has it on his bench. Heimerdinger.
He has it, but we don't like Heimerdinger. It's not that good right now. I want to play a Teemo, Dan.
2-star Heimerdinger, or in this case, 2-star Garen? Okay.
Okay. He's one off the Karma. He has a blue buff for the Gwyn as well. That's a very interesting choice from Spencer. I don't know very many people that would value the Garen that highly. He does have a Warmogs, though, and he could slam a Gargoyle Stoneplate. He could also slam a Titans if he wanted to, so it does make some sense. He has meaningful backline, I guess, and you know, he's on this Karma pair, so he says, hey, as long as I get one more Karma, this is fine. I need this power right now.
He's also playing for Spellweaver. And so we're taking a look at his roll down. He's going to see if he can find Vel'Koz 2. Does not find it on his initial couple rolls, but he has a Nikos, and I don't think it's good enough to play that Heimerdinger because Heimerdinger is just too weak at 1 star. On stage 5, and it's Pockygom versus Soju. Soju is on his last life. He's at 12 HP, and he's on the wrong side with Diana. This is a great dodge against Pockygom. The Vel'Koz Disintegration Blade destroys the Aphelos in the back, and I'm tripping over my words because I think this is it for Soju. Say that the reason why people play Spencer's comp of Karma is because it outcaps that of Vel'Koz. So in terms of on paper, Pockygom does have a huge uphill climb.
Especially with that Vel'Koz 1, Pocky desperately needs to get the Vel'Koz 2 online in order to actually hit the true power level of his composition. When your main carry in the comp is only 1 star, you become very reliant on that Fiddlesticks, which can be a hit-or-miss champion. Meanwhile, Kurum gets the Viego onto the Draven. Draven has been subjugated. There is no damage left for Delicious Milk. He does have a Viego of his own in the back line, but it's just dealing a Thresh, not really doing much work. Meanwhile, Kurumx's Jax is just wailing away and systematically taking care of Milk and eliminating him from this game.
Nothing.
And the look on his face says it all. He just needs that Vel'Koz 2, but he has won a number of fights. The only board we've seen him lose to, even with this Vel'Koz 1, has been Spencer's board, but he's going up against the new and improved version of Robin's board. Instead of a Leona, we have a Galio, and instead of a KO1, we have a KO2.
That's right. And everything lines up perfectly positioning-wise for Pockygom, so by all means, he's done the best that he possibly could have.
Here comes
the
the abomination.
4 Spellweavers melts everything that isn't Galio and Kale, and that Lux in the corner tries to see if he can ramp up for another beam, but Kale might just be too strong at this point. Oh, and Pockygom is barely living at 1 HP. Spencer has lost.
Spencer bleeds.
Right, still in the mix. Has to account for the left and the right. Gonna do just a generic swap to the left side. Can plant this vest on just any unit. As it is the Jax on the left side. That is very scary for Pockygom because once Jax is done with the Scion, has to be careful that it doesn't get into the face of the Vel'Koz. But that's big damage coming out.
Plus Syndra?
Yeah, the Syndra throws it away. Guardian Angel's been popped. An opportunity for a second Disintegration Ray. Covers the rest. And
if he's able to win and Spencer loses to the KO board, it's so close.
Spencer, 3 HP.
How is he doing this? I don't understand. Pocky is somehow making this competitive. Oh no, we spoke too soon, but
Syndra.
did we? He's able to get it done. He eliminates Kurum. We're into the top 3.
Robin beats both Spencer and Pockygom. Is a double kill. Then we have a tie for third place, rather, with the finishes that we have.
We didn't get it. Robin gets the ghost of Pockygom and is on the right side. Should be a relatively easy matchup. It's all going to come down to Spencer versus Pockygom. Robin, show us the fight.
That's right. Robin just kind of taking it on cruise control, recognizing that it doesn't really matter. He's going to show very briefly what's happening, but if there's any indication of previous matchups, Pockygom doesn't have the chops to keep up with Spencer's board.
I only know last round placement that Spencer's outplaced Pocky. I do not know what their average placements are, and I don't know their number of first, so we're going to find it out together. But first thing is first. In order for Pocky to have a chance, he needs Spencer to lose to Robin. Everyone is a Robinsongz fan right now. If you want Pocky, if you want Spencer, go Spencer.
And here what could be the final fight. A good Zephyr from Spencer onto the opposing Garen from Robinsongz. The Doombringer stalling the KO, but it doesn't really matter too much. And here comes the Gwen trying to penetrate through the front line. A fight between the two Gwens ends up favoring Robinsongz. KO is completely destroying everything else. And the strongest unit in the game, Uncat's potential, ascending all the way. Robinsongz does it again. 5 lobby wins in the North American Regional Finals.
Let's see who won that tiebreaker. It's Spencer!
Wow.
33 points apiece for Spencer and Pockygom. And we are getting word that Spencer won on the 3rd tiebreaker.
Yeah, if you actually stack their results, it actually is incredibly close. Both Spencer and Pockygom have a 2nd place.